Hey guys, it's Slave to the Games here with another part 2, or episode 2 of Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. I almost said Bloodlines, but we're not there yet. Thank you guys for stopping by. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, or follow depending on the platform you guys are watching. And I hope you enjoy. Once again, don't forget to check out the Discord link below if you want to join, talk to me off stream. Obviously, you can still leave comments. I'll still give it to them as soon as I can. And then if you want to take one step further to support me in what I do, you can check out my Patreon link below where you can either donate or become a Patreon member, thereby giving you specific roles, like right here. I need to fix that camera. I cut the camera so that I could actually fit into this box here, you know, so I could have a little bit of a theme for it, but it also cut it for the intermission, so we're going to try not to use that this time around and fix it for the next stream. But there is going to be specific areas where I will show you guys recognition for those of you who do choose to support me. Without further ado, let's get straight into this, and I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Whoa. Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desire to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the Masquerade while staining what humanity you have left. In Coteries of New York, having high hunger is indicated by a progressively thicker bloody frame around the screen, likely the one you see now. As your hunger grows, so does this indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers or when you need to mend your wounds after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you'll receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Some choices might only become visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices as you will be able to see after pressing continue. Blocked off option. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and slake your hunger. You will need to keep the hunger at bay if you are to uphold the Masquerade and survive the nights that await you. So let's rest. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. The solid metal door is closed. Normally, you'd stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you'd probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. Hey, what's up, awesome? How you doing? But that was before. The way you woke up now, you are fully conscious. No grogginess, no weighing you down, just a nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time, 9:04. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is New York City's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You missed the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself. But then you come back to the memory of Cater's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour and then switch to his streaming services. Almost as if the universe had a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendations. I'm doing good, thanks for asking. You got a stream today? The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Seth. Slept well? It's not really like normal sleep, is it? I suppose it isn't. Some say it's more like being dead, but we wouldn't know, would we? It's no use reflecting on it anyway, except that it is who you are now. You made the right choice yesterday. I can teach you many things about yourself, your blood, its desires and its power. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There's only one remedy, the blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. So tonight, I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kind's vulnerabilities to your advantage. Okay, maybe I'll check it out. Thanks for stopping by the way. Well, I'm ready to learn. Let's get started. Such eagerness, or is it just your hunger making you impatient? You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Someone can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays. Correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. Biting people leaves marks, right? And the victims remember your face. You shouldn't concern yourself with leaving marks. These are easy to conceal. You just need to bite carefully and then lick the punctures closed. That's all there is to it. As for being remembered, like I mentioned, the kiss is an ecstatic experience, so kind can barely recall the details. And even when they do, this city is enormous. You could spend days on the streets and not see the same face twice. Use that to your advantage. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous. By branching out, you risk the ear of other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, New York City is more forgiving in this regard. New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory is waiting for us. The busy streets fill the air with traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells that disorientate you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. Hey, what's up, Lucid? How you doing? You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thinned New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be, but compared to the daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thoughts and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're amongst the tallest skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. Come, Seth. Park the car, Gregory, will you? The driver just nods and Sophie gets out. You join her and the two of you walk through the glass doors together, then take the elevator up. You first noticed an empty stage with the instruments of string quartet still in the back, then take in the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seeming concluded, the patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are let through without an issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this one would usually prove quite challenging to an inexperienced kindred, but considering this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure for you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see here. Ah, there he is. She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How's your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl, come over here, please. There's somebody I'd like you to meet. The young woman who walks across the hall can't be more than 19 years old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit this crowd. Julie, this is Seth. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it is exactly Sophie expects you to do. You reach a secluded space from which the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out the next step. If you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, I mean that you know. She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself a theatrical nip, then looks to you embarrassed, but also hopeful. Yes, I do. She takes off her jacket, unbuttons her sleeve, then rolls it up. You see a tattoo of a cat in an astronaut suit, one feline eye winking at you. There, just enjoy. A perfectly awkward smile and a blush. You take her forearm in your hands, a quick look around confirms nobody's watching, and no security cameras cover this area. You bite down gently. It's surreal. She's just giving you her blood of her own volition. But how is this possible? What about the masquerade? You need to ask Sophie. Your thoughts disappear amid the bliss. It's just the taste. Sweet, fresh, sanguine. You drink. And drink. And drink. No, stop. Stop. Stop! You tear away from the girl harder than you wanted. Still, the bite leaves just tiny punctures. Almost as if by instinct, you lick them clean, and the two holes become concealed, just like that. Julie is now leaning on the wall, pale, wobbling on her feet, but happy. She lets out a dreamy sigh, opens her eyes. A few tears fall under her shirt, tears of joy. And it's going well, man. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it. I'm enjoying my day so far. Feeling a little bit tired today, but other than that, I'm doing fine. Thank you. Please, can you walk me downstairs? Please, my dad, he doesn't know. Thinks it's a condition. Miss Langley told him so. She leans on you and requests you walk her over to a bench. She takes a seat and smiles at you. Oh, I'll be fine for later, no worries. The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was splendid talking to you, but we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with, Seth. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. I can tell from your look that you took the opportunity. Good for you. That girl's exquisite, don't you think? You wouldn't tell by her demeanor, but she has so much passion. It brings out a unique bouquet in her blood. She was something else, to be sure. Delicious. I could barely stop myself from drinking more. I'm glad you did. She is one of my favorites, considering tonight special in this regard. I do not share her with just anybody. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes over the car over to the Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. Those people back at the hall, they were all entranced. Even I was under your spell. What was that? She smiles with satisfaction. That old trick, just the blood doing my bidding. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I can sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. Okay, so what are my talents? Time will tell. You need to discover them for yourself. When we arrive, experiment. Give different things a try. Follow your instinct and intuition. It will guide the blood. Always keep the Masquerade in mind, however. It is all fine if you can disappear in plain sight, or command animals with your mind, but save those overt talents for the right place and time. It only takes you a half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. What's with the devil faces? Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight. The stars just barely visible in the light-polluted air of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood. But only pick one victim. Just one. Then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone like them could work. But focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be someone unfortunate wino around. Or someone maybe by the tennis court. There's light coming from there, so somebody might still be playing late at night. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As these scenarios play out in your mind, you realize you're planning how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but now, the familiar hunger prompts you to act. Where do I want to go? Go around the park. You start walking. The park's many avenues must hold a good spot or two for a predator like yourself. You pass 2 soccer fields and circle around to where the Fountain of the Planets once awed visitors with its spectacle before coming across an opportunity. A woman, a small duffel bag on her arm, is making her way through the park in a hurry. She doesn't seem to have noticed you yet. It plays out like a typical scenario of its sorts. The attacker, that's you, lying in wait for that hapless victim to come close. Then the trap is sprung. Or that's how you expected it to play out. Instead, the woman notices you ahead of time and skirts around you. You start following her, and she switches from a hurried walk into a nervous trot. You think you feel a stir within your body, the blood giving you some extra speed, just a bit of an edge to reach the woman. All else goes out of focus. The hunt takes central stage. Her foot strikes your face as a result of a sloppy but still effective roundhouse kick. Help! It's not enough to deter you. Not now. A base instinct takes over. She's your quarry, you will feed on her. Your hand lands on her mouth, she struggles, elbows you in the stomach, stomps on your foot, bites your palm. You return the favor. Your fangs pierce her shoulder. She tenses up, then relaxes. The duffel bag hits the ground. She moans into your hand. Her blood, fueled by adrenaline, fear, and excitement, flows fast and hot into your body. Bliss. Footsteps. You let go of her, she drops to the ground, barely conscious. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. What do you think you're doing, barging in on my turf like this, lick? I didn't mean to trespass, sorry. I'm going. Too late for that, friendo. You want to leave here in one piece? You talk. Candidly. I know what you are, so you can shove that Masquerade misdirection up your ass. Now, better tell me who you are with before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. I don't really know if I'm okay to speak up about who I'm with. I don't think she told me not to say it right now. I came here with Sophie Langley. She's my patron. Doesn't ring a bell. Sounds fancy, though. Licks his lips, exposing his fangs and looking at you ferociously. A nervous tick or an attempt at intimidation? I wonder, what would Callahan do to you if I brought you in, huh? Break your shins? Leave you out to be kissed by the sun? Ooh, concrete shoes maybe. He's old school like that. You take off fast, faster than you've ever run. The hoodlum has trouble keeping up, but howls behind you like an animal and gives chase anyway. As you reach the Unisphere again, you slow down, noticing two people near the sculpture. A man and a woman, tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, feeding. This whole scene is set up so that it looks like a couple getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure. On his feet as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. Her driver appears from behind a tree. Well, Seth, how'd it go? You're about to answer when the same figure as before emerges from one of the alleys. He looks at the three of you, and a predatory smile creeps onto his lips. You thought you could run away from me, Lick? Think you'll be safe with your friends? Well, I have friends too. He makes a motion to shout, but two things happen almost at the same time. First, that feeling of warmth and beauty emanating from Sophie flares up again, entrancing both you and the hooded thug. His shout comes out as a weak, confused squeak. Second, Gregory produces a wooden stake from a holster under his jacket and slams it into the thug's chest. Just like that, in a few seconds, the posturing vampire is down on the ground, paralyzed. I see you've made a friend, Seth. Curious choice of company, I would say. Who is he? He said something about presenting me to somebody named Callahan. Ever heard of him? She looks shocked for a split second, then recovers her regular countenance. Yes, I have. This hoodlum is Anarch, then. Curious. Corona Park has not been claimed by any kindred last I checked. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kaidar tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this unbound's acquaintance. Gregory carries the staked vampire and dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not in that poor fucker's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away, but then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your various abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has about as many caveats as it has its perks. You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I'll pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at Elysium, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the bank needs to be properly introduced to Kadar and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. Oh yeah? I can imagine he's going to enjoy the meeting, Kadar. I hope he gives him a good grilling. The guy's an asshole. Oh, Kadar will enjoy it too, I'm sure. She pauses, seemingly lost in thought for a while. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it? I would hope. I'll need time to get used to this. It doesn't come naturally. It will, with time. you need to think about it less. Hunting is the one scenario in which you'll do well to trust your instincts. In moderation, of course. She seems distracted, not at all there. The thoughts drift and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick this up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory with a body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with situations like these in the past unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take time to process. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sounds like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, but then a decision. This time, you turn the lights off. You think back to Julie. How many people in this city know about this vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does this work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night when you can start crossing them off the list, instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. You sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms like an old friend. And we rest. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. Oh right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living room space, a book in her hand. The Melancholy of Resistance, the title's sure on brand. Good evening, Seth. Sorry I've kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time when I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. Most of the Primogen Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you do well to at least learn about. You never told me if there's any save or vivery kind of rules I should respect when talking to other vampires. Knowing that you're among your superiors is probably the most important. In our society, status comes with age. Pardon my sincerity, but you are insignificant. Not even associating with me can make the fact that you've been kindred for barely a few nights be forgotten. So know your place. Stay out of your superior's business and show the utmost respect. Thanking the prince for sparing you and maybe having a friendly chat with Kadar publicly might show your gratefulness for being a part of the Camarilla now. I would suggest you make it sincere. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you, but it's clear what she's really concerned about. Her own interests. You step into the art hole with something of a bad memory. The last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down and your existence nearly ended. But tonight, there's very little outward hostility. Yes, Cater gives you a look that's definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie. Seth. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there's somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight? Yes, Prince. They'll be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. It's better be worth the prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Cater a cold glance. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Seth's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch. That must have hurt his ego, even if only his reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you come back to all the talk of eschewing societal norms and disillusionment with the status quo you enjoyed back in the club. Look at you now, behaved, agreeable. She likely wouldn't be too happy with this whole setup. Prince, court, hierarchy, titles. But hey, she's gone. Probably forever. If you ever break out of this, you'll be on your own. The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit-clad, inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectively to Cater. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life and he starts looking around in disbelief. Like a cornered animal, he backs out on all fours, keeps going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Cater steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why? Who do we have here? Oh fuck, oh shit, no, come on, don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in his company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please, don't hurt me, man, don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up, let's go. He doesn't wait for a confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming out of the room. Conversations start all around you, some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. So, what happens now? It'll be at least some minutes before Cater gets the information he seeks out of this thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink, still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off, a splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheeks. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here those few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turns your attention to the bespectacled man you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column watching you. Turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. You approach the prince, trying to stay as respectful of her private conversation as possible. She glances at you as you step forward, her scrutinizing gaze mimicked by her companion. She addresses the dark-skinned woman before turning to you. Excuse me for just a moment, Samira. Yes, Seth, what is it? I wish to thank you for sparing me, Prince. I realize it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I wanted to express my sincere appreciation. How thoughtful of you. She takes a long look at you before she continues. I didn't do it from the kindness of my unbeating heart. You are an asset to Miss Langley, to the Camarilla, and to me. I believe I made that right decision. Prove to me and the other kindred of this city that it was so, and there might be more to your future nights than just survival and servitude. The dark-skinned woman looks impatiently at you and catches the prince's attention. Forgive me, that's all the time I can spare right now. We have some things to discuss with Samara. Still, enjoy your night, Seth. You leave the two women to their conversation, which they get back to almost immediately after the prince turns to Samara. You notice Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element, and not to be disturbed. Kadar hasn't come back yet, so you can probably still find time for at least one conversation. There's something about this guy. It's not that he's staring at you. Most everybody in this room has at one point or another. It's how he does it. He seems shy, maybe even afraid. It's hard to find a secluded spot in the gallery tonight, but this guy has an entire corner of the room all to himself. As you approach, he's standing alone with no glass in hand, a worried look on his face. So, care to tell me what's so interesting about me that you've been looking at me since I came in? Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. Just seeing how you're doing. You're still in one piece, that's good. I'm glad. Name's Larson, or you can call me Robert. Either's fine. Why are you standing around by yourself like this? I'm not hugely liked around these parts. I'm surprised you wanted to talk to me. Then again, you're new, so you probably don't know. I'm one of Prince Panhard's Promogene. I'm here on business in case the prince requires my insight. Usually, it's so she can hear me out before ignoring me. Not sure if you were paying attention the other night, but when the prince mentioned diverging opinions on whether you should be executed or not, that was me. I was the diverging opinion. That's huge, thank you. Even if you didn't change the prince's mind. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Listen, I don't want to be rude, and I appreciate you reaching out, but word of advice, stay away from me. Many vampires in this sect regard my position as Promogene to be kind of a joke, you know? You talk to me, they'll notice, and they'll hold it against you. You have a quick look behind you and see that a few of the kindred keep shooting you curious glances. One woman in particular, a redhead boasting a fanciful hairstyle, watches you disapprovingly. Some of them already do, I imagine. Excuse me, I need to try to get a word in with a few Promogene members before Kadar returns. Enjoy your night. With just the critical looks of a few kindred to keep you company, you stare thinking about who to pursue next. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everybody's attention. Kadar is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes his unfortunate victim inside the room. The vampires that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think. Something protruding there, making the pant leg bulge. One arm seems twisted at a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadar, did our guest cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An anarch coterie, my prince. Active for some time now, though from what this old one told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years. I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadar's slap dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one's guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That alone would be enough to pass a swift judgment, but he is also Anarch scum. My prince. There can be only one verdict. Final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. Unless, of course, somebody would like to play at being a good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. Damn, shots fired, man. The look the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm under yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. In a split second, you make your choice. Focusing your blood, you dash forward and grab Howard by the back of his jumpsuit, pulling him away from the window. You expect some resistance, but find you don't have to worry about it when a swift cut separates Howard's head from his body. You let go and the headless corpse slumps to the ground. Kadar is standing between you and the window, his sword drawn and an ugly smile on his face. Well, Seth, your eagerness is laudable, if unnecessary. That Howard fellow couldn't have hoped to escape his fate, not facing Kadar's expertise. However, I have made note of this show of loyalty on both your and your patron's accounts. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this anarch thug to my and Kadar's attention. I assume all have found the verdict satisfactory. It's a rhetorical question, and everybody here knows it. Then I consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room, and you see that many of the guests move to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have the time to strike up a conversation of your own too. Kadar al-Asmai is still here, for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. Larson is still moping around, and the other man you noticed before Kadar brought the Anarch in is still chatting with the remaining attendants. I don't know, I'm thinking either Kadar or the sociable man. I don't really know who I want to choose. Like, I'm leaning more towards Kadar, but I also want to learn about the people here, and I don't know who the sociable man is. I don't really like Kadar that much, either. I guess I'll talk to the sociable man. The well-dressed man has just finished talking to a few of the guests who turn toward the stairs to leave the gallery. He notices you approach. Thomas Arturo. Is that your name? I assumed you'd like to know. I know you, by name only, of course. Seth? So tell me, how does it feel to go from victim to executioner's accomplice? Well, I just wanted to make myself useful, even if Kadar had everything under control. Right. Nothing like a show of good faith in a public space. I get that. He takes a moment to clean his glasses, completely ignoring you until he's done, and puts them back on. I'm sorry, I got distracted. You know, most of us don't need to wear these, right? I could see just fine without them, but it's a statement. The damn things keep catching specks of dust and other assorted shit, though. Never stay clean for long. Sometimes I think they're more trouble than they're worth. Don't you agree? I say if it's a pain to wear them, and you don't need them, why do it? Why? Well, like I said, it's a statement. Inconvenience is no excuse to stop pursuing perfection. What else is there, really? Right. That was a nice chat. I have to catch up with a few other fellows, like this gentleman here. Gee! Doesn't even give you a chance to say goodbye. He's already off, putting a hand on the shoulder of a mustachioed man nearby. It's right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something, and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time, you arrive at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs, though, a very nice lobby and a luxurious-looking hall into her domain. Please have a seat. I should be right with you. You take in your surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece once, and a Nouveau Riche's living room meticulously combined together. Apologies, old habits die hard. Clearly, some stick with you even after death. She drags on her cigarette and breathes out. Breathes. How is she doing that? Can you do that? Oh yes, you might not know. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you'd like. Other things too. Experiment, you might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest these nights. That door in the back, the bedroom. Similar to yours, I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you before that I needed you, that I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing with the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interests in mind too. That's why I've given you your own haven. Why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me, or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something, when you're in trouble too. Though I hope that won't happen often. I would ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you. Okay. I'll come over first thing in the morning. Tomorrow night. I appreciate that. That silence again. There's definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, but she doesn't seem eager to share it with you just yet. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip, a promise that you'll show up tomorrow, and some polite goodbyes later. You open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into the secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more about this thing you have become. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change. Well then, rest. Once more, darkness falls upon the city. You wake up, same as you have these past few nights, in a windowless room. As you pry open the reinforced steel door, you look out the window to see, invariably, a sky bereft of sunlight. And then it hits you, the hunger. Hey, what's up, Granada? Thanks for stopping by, and I will do exactly that. And thank you for the host, very much appreciated. For a moment, you let yourself wonder if there will ever come a night when it's just not there. Given what you've learned thus far, you probably have as much chance of kickstarting your heart with jumper cables. You lock the apartment behind you and head over to Sophie's apartment. You did promise to call on her. Might as well not keep the lady waiting. And hey, what else are you gonna do? Call Jess? Yeah, right. What would you tell her? If she even picked up at all, she'd probably use the opportunity to stick some more needles in you. Or worse, persuade you to come back. Or go back to work? Yeah, who are we kidding? HR probably found a replacement the day after you went missing. Nobody there cares if you got kidnapped or turned into a creature of the night. These thoughts put you in a weird mood. It's a strange sensation to walk the crowded streets, same as you have so many times before, but feeling so disconnected. All these people, you're not one of them, not anymore. You're a vampire, kindred, and you need to carve your own path in this strange new existence, one way or another. Appropriately enough, you arrive at Sophie's building just as that thought crosses your mind. A quick word with the security guard and you're led into the elevator. Apparently, Miss Langley is expecting you. Of course she is. You knock and wait patiently as the footsteps on the other side grow closer. Finally, the door opens and Gregory, Sophie's driver, invites you in. You find the lady herself standing by the window, silhouetted against the city's midnight glow. She stares out motionless, like a marble statue. Is everything all right? She doesn't react immediately, but seems to snap out of some meditative state and looks at you with the strangely bleary eyes. Yes, it is. How kind of you to ask. Tell me, when you look out at this city, when you see the lights, hear the hum, smell the rain on the pavement, what do you think about? You gaze out. The lights and rain, the relentless honking below, music blasting from a nearby window, echoing off of buildings. Someone should record an hour of this and throw it up on YouTube as an ambient piece. Other than that, though, it's business as usual. The sights, the sounds, the smells, you know them all too well. Sophie watches you. You can tell she's disappointed somehow, but she covers it up with a courteous smile. Well, not everybody can appreciate the intricacies that the world offers. In fact, among kindred, my clan is somewhat notorious for finding innate meaning even in the mundane. You see, the blood that flows within me is that of Clan Torador. There are 13 such bloodlines among us kindred, though that number has been contested in the past, and these nights, it seems that nothing is certain anymore. The clans have gone by many epithets over the years, but the names used these nights have their roots in medieval times. Original Inquisition, if you can believe it. They use these to categorize us, describe our inherent differences. In time, we adopted them ourselves. Each clan has an uniqueness about it, inescapable, originating from an ancient progenitor, carried from sire to child. For the Torador, the gift lies in a sensitivity of sorts. We are uniquely attuned to beauty and ugliness both. We can see either where most cannot. A blessing on most nights, occasionally a curse. The sheriff is of my clan as well, although you'd be hard-pressed to see him as such. Poor Kadar. Breaks my heart to see him in this state. Still, there's a beauty to it as well. Nothing like a good fall from grace. Try as she might to act playful, you can tell she genuinely cares. She lets her gaze wander for a brief moment, but is quick to regain her composure. Then there are the Ventru. Known for their pride and proclivity to rule over others, the prince represents that clan, as is quite common in our society around the globe. Where the blue bloods think themselves rulers, the Bruja likes to see themselves as preeminent revolutionaries. They call for universal rebellion while being slaves to their own temper. Excuse me. We don't discuss the rabble much anymore, not after they've largely broken off with the Camarilla. To think they were philosophers once long ago. I hope to tell you more about some of the other bloodlines tonight. Say I meet a vampire for the first time. How can I tell what their clan is? Usually you cannot, with a few exceptions, perhaps. For some clans, the uniqueness I mentioned bleeds into their appearance or disposition, but even that can be misleading. Outside of a very specific few cases, knowing one's clan is less important than understanding who they are personally. What drives them, their wants and needs, weaknesses too. Speaking of which, we come to the reason I wanted to speak to you tonight. It is customary in our society, especially among younger kindred, to organize into coteries. Sometimes these are called by the prince themselves, or mandated by a fledgling sire. In our case, you may treat it as more of a strong recommendation. I want you to seek out companions, not only because you need to learn more about our society, but also because it is useful. True friendships are rare among kindred, but having allies, even temporary ones, is something of a necessity these nights. We might be selfish creatures, but we are drawn to each other nonetheless. Any suggestions on where I should start looking? I was just about to get to that. She puts on a mysterious smile. Spent some time of my precious time last night asking around, pondering potential kindreds for you to meet. I came up with a short list of contacts. I hope you'll appreciate the gesture. Forging a partnership with them might offer perspectives and viewpoints that I cannot provide. Lenses through which to view our kind. They are all members of the Camarilla, of course, more or less. Alright then, let's hear it. Who's on the list? Eager to learn about them, I see. Good, I'm glad. So let us start with the Tremere. They're a powerful clan, disliked by many but feared and respected by many more. They have been an important pillar of the Camarilla since the very beginning. They are blood sorcerers. You look at Sophie with a hint of disbelief. Blood sorcerers? Pretty sure Mark from QA used to brag about having a level 70 blood sorcerer. Somehow you don't think he meant magical vampires. Sophie snickers. Oh child, don't be caught with that look on your face when you meet a warlock in person. They really are adept at using vitae, their own as well as others, to unique and potent effects. Since they are quite rigid in their hierarchy, the kindred I had in mind for you might need some persuading. His name is Agathon. From what I hear, he is quite the scholar, very ambitious, the child of a noted Tremere here in New York, Aisling Sturbridge. Spend enough time with Agathon and I'm sure you'll run into her sooner or later. So by getting to know this Agathon, I can get closer to someone higher up the ladder. Yes, though not immediately, I would imagine. Aisling finds herself in a somewhat precarious position, both in the city and her clan. Every move she makes is heavily scrutinized, thus she has learned to tread lightly. Anyway, if you wish to contact the young Tremere, I hear you can usually find him in a New Age bookstore out on Broadway. The Tremere have one of their workshops there. Gregory will give you details. Now, this next recommendation comes with a bit of a caveat. As you recall me saying, most bloodlines have unique features that might not be obvious at first glance. Well, there's one clan whose members wear their curse on their sleeve. The Nosferatu. Man, what's with this goofy names? Guess they're really big on the Blue Oyster Cult. No wonder they make their havens in sewers, abandoned buildings and such. Their appearance is hideous and obviously unnatural. Had they walked the streets like other kindred, the kind would have learned of our existence long ago. Did she just shudder? It's hard to tell with her usual complexion, but you could swear her skin suddenly took on an even more sickly color. The ones I have in mind isn't as big an eyesore as the worst of them, but he is no Adonis either. Still, he has some talents and connections that you might find useful. His name is D'Angelo, and he has an office, for lack of a better term, in the otherwise abandoned grain terminal in Red Hook, right next to one of those Swedish stores. The name escapes me, the ones with the awful furniture. You mentioned this D'Angelo has some useful connections. I was just getting to that. D'Angelo does odd jobs for Cater, digging up dirt, locating kindred who would prefer to remain hidden, the kind of work the Nosferatu are best at. He's on a case right now, something to do with Kine murders, I think. After your initial brush with our dear sheriff, I think it would be wise to show some goodwill towards his agenda. Assisting D'Angelo with his investigation might just be the thing. She takes a brief pause to look out the window again. Now come the two more exotic proposals. Exotic? As if the blood mage and the vampire detective were business as usual. You may have heard about the Gangrel before. They're a wild clan, in touch with their beast in a ways others might not dare to attempt. They mostly keep out of big cities, but there are exceptions. Normally, they haven't been a part of the Camarilla for over 2 decades, but the one kindred I would like you to meet has strong, shall we say, familial ties to the sect. Her name is Tamika. Her sire, Jezebel, was instrumental during the Battle of New York, back in 1999. The very same battle that cemented the site as a Camarilla domain. Sadly, her achievements have gone largely unrecognized. Tamika and a number of her siblings still reside in the domain they were awarded after the battle, Prospect Park. Jezebel herself left the city some years ago, fed up with being underappreciated. I got the impression contacting vampires who aren't in the Camarilla was frowned upon, but you're saying these Gangrel aren't a part of the sect anymore? How does that work? It's not as clear-cut. The gangrel as a whole have sworn off the Camarilla, but individual kindred of that clan can still hold our ideals. Jezebel was one of them before she became jaded. Besides, their domain in the Prospect Park has been upheld by Prince Panhard for all these years, has it not? You consider them members of the sect, and they have, for the most part, kept to themselves. Perhaps it will take a young kindred such as yourself to make them realize where their loyalties lie. So you see, seeking out Tamika could prove quite educational, if nothing else. And who knows, perhaps you will find her temperament to be a welcome change of pace. But speaking of a change of pace, I have one last suggestion for you, though it's one I don't make lightly. The kindred who call himself, or herself, Hope. She's a Malkavian. Okay, I don't care what anyone says, I'm going with the Malkavian, okay? I won't play as one in any of the games, but just because I find the fact that I can interact with one interesting, I'm definitely gonna go there. She's a Malkavian. They are a uniquely cursed clan. For centuries, we consider them mad, insane, unhinged, but for those of us who spend enough time with them, come to understand the truth. It is no sickness, but a unique perception of the world that has them appear to us as unstable, and that perception can prove to be very valuable. Having a Malkavian as your companion might be taxing on the nerves, and a true test of patience at times, but their insight and intuition are unrivaled among kindred. As for Hope specifically, she is said to be a recluse, but I have it on good authority that she can currently be found in an internet cafe. I believe it's called in Lower Manhattan. Gregory has the address. Where did you learn about her exactly? One of my colleagues told me about her. He considers her uniquely talented and tapped into the current fads among kind. Not something I personally am interested in, as I'm sure you know by now. I take his word for it at any rate. Well, I believe that's all of them. I still have a few social calls to make tonight, so I'll leave you to it. Use tonight and tomorrow night to arrange some cordial visits of your own. I will send Gregory for you as soon as I have further need of your services. Oh, that reminds me, you will need a car. Join us downstairs, won't you? She smiles once more and turns to her driver. He helps her put on her coat, and the three of you leave Sophie's apartment. Sophie points to one of the cars near the building as Gregory hands you the keys. It's a rather inconspicuous compact car, a decent looking, if not luxurious ride. Stay safe, Seth. This is your first night alone. Don't let it be your last. As they drive away, you find yourself with more freedom than you've had for the past few nights. A blessing or a burden. Time will tell. With a list of addresses in hand, you consider your next move. Woo! Okay, guys, and that is where we're going to be leaving it for now. It's a cliffhanger, I guess, cutoff point, but it's a really good one, considering that we have the freedom to save not in the middle of a dialogue, and we have reached the hour. And for those of you who want more of the streaming and just to hang out with me, I will be continuing the stream later with my friend Lucid. We will be playing Rainbow Six Siege. And for those of you guys who are still watching this, I hope you are enjoying it. I'm enjoying it so far. I think as of now, we're just getting out of the prologue area still. I figured the first part that we did was the prologue area, but I think it's going to continue a little bit. If not, this is where it's going to just start branching out. I think we have actually finished the tutorial area. So thank you guys for stopping by. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, or follow, depending on the platform you guys are watching this on. Okay, I thought the mic was shaking. And also, if you feel like joining the Discord community, there's a link below. You can hang out, message me whenever time. There's a bunch of different tabs you can select, places you can share your own content. Just, if you are going to join and share your own content, make sure you put in general chat, I'm a Mixer streamer, I am a YouTube streamer, Twitch streamer, I'm a YouTube content creator, etc. So I can give you the accurate roles so that those places can open up for you to place, and then everybody else can view them. And then if you also want to take one step further to support me in what I do, either by donating or becoming a Patreon member, the Patreon link is below. You can see that as well. By becoming a Patreon member, you get things like this horribly done right now that needs to be fixed camera thing, but you can see where I place the Patreon members. Obviously the list will get longer over time. I definitely believe it will. And then, like I said, I need to fix it, guys. I accidentally cut it for this webcam frame. But anyways, and then you also get to be put in the description below, as well as have a Patreon member role in the Discord. So once again, thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you're enjoying this. I am enjoying it so far. As I said in the first part, I'm interested in it. I am. I'm waiting for it to get better, and by that I mean I'm waiting for it to expand and for more choices and for more impactful consequences and stuff like that. I'm waiting for all of that to come into play, but I understand it takes some time. So I'm curious to see where it's gonna go and how it's gonna be portrayed for the rest of the game. So either way, yeah, exactly, woot woot. Thank you guys for stopping by. I am gonna head out now. It was great hanging with you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Catch you tomorrow, every day, guys, at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next part of this. See you all later.